Hey YouTube, Untamed here. So I'd say at least a few times a week I get that golden question of, hey Untamed, what do you do for a living? And it's such a fair question, right? I mean, because I'm the same way, right? We always kind of want to know what other people are doing who seemingly are being quote unquote successful, right? And we always try to, at least we like knowing. And we're all nosy in that regard for sure, because if maybe that's an option for us to consider. If they have what I want, maybe if I did the same thing that they did, I can get what they have, right? And it's a common way of thinking, and it's fair to ask that question. But as you guys know, as some of you know, I respond to a lot of those comments. I try to be transparent with you guys. I purposely keep my line of work, my profession, separate from my YouTube channel here, and I do it on purpose. Because I don't want anyone to even think that my opinions and views are of the organization that I work for, bottom line. So that's why you don't see me talking about my profession, line of work, which I assure you is a good line of work. I work for the good guys, I promise you. But again, I just keep it separate for that reason. This is strictly a side hobby of mine, and it's just for fun, and I want to share it with you guys, that's all. But like I said, it's a fair question, because we're all like that. We all want to know, like, hey, maybe if I did the same thing, I can get the same toys someday, and that's totally fair. The one thing I will share with you in this video, and it's what worked for me, is I pursued my education, and I developed myself. I invested in myself before fully investing in the toys and all the fun stuff, and actually getting this kind of stuff in a nice house, right? This was a byproduct of me investing in myself first. And I know a lot of you don't want to hear that, especially the younger cats. I see the demographics on my videos. If you put in the work and go to school, this is what I did. And I will open this video with, you do not need to go to school to be successful. I have friends who didn't go to college one single day, and they're sitting pretty right now because they were smart and they did other options, different other avenues. So let me preface it with that. But school is what worked for me. So I went, got my undergrad in communication studies. Then I got my MBA right after that, and I did it all sequentially right after one another. So I'm still quote unquote a younger cat, but I did it all back to back. I figured there's no better time than now. I had a mentor tell me that. I said, you're only going to get busier as you get older. You're only going to get more kiddos, more children running around. They're going to grow up. They're going to become teenagers and take more of your time, sports, blah, 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 blah. So there's no better time than now. So that particular mentor of mine, he guided me to continue forward and do my PhD as well. Well, admittedly, little did I know what I was getting into when I did my PhD. I bit off a lot more than I could chew, really, I think. But I stood the course and I finished it, and that by itself took 5.5 years. And I recently finished that within the last year. So still relatively new with the doctorate, but so the MBA and the doctorate is so PhD, a doctorate of philosophy. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are. Doctorate of philosophy is a PhD, but I have an emphasis in industrial and organizational psychology. So it's commonly known as IO PhD. So that's what I have. Oh, we got a buggy feature, perhaps. Hey, Buggy, what you doing? Hey, bud, what you doing? Good form. Good form. Is that a ball? All right, team. Well, so I wanted to at least open with that. Purposely keep my work life separate. But education is what worked for me. It allowed me to open doors that would have normally been closed, of course. And my outlook on school has always been this. By going to school back to back and earning the degrees and whatnot and doing well, it put me in a position where I can be choosy. I can be the one choosing the positions I do. Yeah?
Red.
Cool ball. Yeah, red ball, orange ball. I guess it's red. I might be colorblind. So that's always been my stance on it. Put yourself in a position where you're the one saying yes or no to jobs, right? I mean, like, you can choose. Be choosy with it. Whereas, if I didn't have those degrees, I could still potentially do it depending on what type of job it is, of course, if it's more skill based. But having a PhD definitely opens that door. MBA by itself, and that is huge. But as many of you guys know, having an undergrad degree by itself your bachelor's is becoming the new norm, unfortunately, nowadays, in order to remain relevant and whatnot for a lot of jobs and options, which is kind of a bummer. It sucks that that's become the case. And the other tip I'll give about school for the younger folks who are considering going to college, my recommendation, take this for whatever it's worth. Again, I'm just some random dude on YouTube that blabs on about Toyotas, but my approach to it, and it serves me well, is select a degree that isn't going to pigeonhole you into something. So I have friends who they majored in criminal justice. I had two of my roommates majored in that throughout my undergrad. And although, I mean, they're both doing very well right now, one of them were doing the same line of work, it did kind of pigeonhole them if they were to try to pursue other options, right? I mean, criminal justice is pretty, singular focus, pretty linear, right? Whereas I majored in communication studies, which you can argue is less important. You can easily argue that. And I jokingly tell people I was in class with the rest of the football team because it was quote unquote the easiest, right? So, but you get what I'm saying though. I mean, communication studies though, you can paint it. You can sell that to any organization or any company because, well, every company, every organization requires, communication specialists who can help the organization communicate better, more effectively, internally, externally, whatever it is, upward, downward, blah, blah, blah. There's always a value in having a communication specialist amongst your team, right? So that, and again, that was just me kind of randomly selling it right there. And you can paint it and pitch it any way you can to any organization. Doesn't matter what the focus is of the organization. So that was my approach. And I continued that throughout my master's and then the PhD. So the MBA, again, every organization could leverage that, right? Just from a business side of the house. And same goes for the PhD. I mean, I purposely chose something that wasn't so focused. I have a friend who he majored, I'm not even kidding when I say this, he majored in laser physics for his PhD. So he has a PhD in laser physics. So I didn't even know that was a thing, but he did. He got that, and he's doing very well, but is very, very focused. Whereas my PhD is a little bit more general, right? So the industrial organizational psychology, workplace behavior, team improvement, team behavior, team performance, stuff like that. Whereas, again, I could paint it and sell it to any organization I go work for. So that was my approach, and that would be my advice. And I've given that advice to a few folks, and I think they've appreciated that as they pursued it. So choose something that you can sell in any way. So I think I belabored that point plenty. But so all this video is just to talk through that. And the final note I'll throw out there, and take this for whatever it's worth, team. You got a cool lineup of trucks here. And that's why a lot of you follow my channel, because I blab on about trucks. These are cool, right? I mean, they're things. They're just things at the end of the day. And I know that I'm talking on both sides of my mouth a little bit, and I could easily be seen as a hypocrite because I have them. Obviously, I pursued them. I pursued the big house. So I can easily be a hypocrite when I'm saying this, but I do mean it, that they are just things at the end of the day. And they're not worth, losing the relationships you have, buckling down so hard at work. And again, not having that personal life and family life. It's not worth, putting all that other more important things aside to pursue things, right? Imagine how boring it would be if I didn't, spend enough time with my family, or, my wife, and my wife left me. Imagine if that happened because I worked so hard to get these things, and then I'd have this beautiful house and beautiful vehicles, but nobody to enjoy it with. So all that to say, these could all be gone tomorrow. This could all be gone tomorrow, and it won't necessarily matter because I still have the people I love in my life, my friends, my family, that I've continued to make the solid time for throughout the years, and continue to treat them with love and respect along the way. So I'll leave you with that. And I guess one more thing. So, and I see it in my line of work too, and I think every organization is guilty of it to some degree. We often only treat the people that have bearing or have some sort of impact on our way ahead in life. We treat them the best. We treat people who we think can actually have an effect on our promotions, right? So if there's a boss, we'll treat them with the utmost respect, and whereas we often treat the people who don't have any bearing or impact on our lives, not as well. And I'm not saying this the best. I didn't think about this before doing this video, but hopefully you guys are picking up what I'm putting down here. It's, are you willing to treat the janitor of your organization the same way you're willing to treat the CEO? And I don't know if that's a good way to say it or not, but if you can, I think you're doing it right. If you can truly do that and look yourself in the mirror, know that you treat everybody with that golden rule, treat everyone the way you want to be treated, I think you are on track to have this stuff. You can be successful if you can truly do that. And I think that's a true sign of character in my personal opinion, for whatever that's worth. So I think I blabbed on enough, and I understand I'm not necessarily the most credible person to be giving you this kind of advice or tips, but I figured I'd shake it up a little bit and take this as an opportunity to A, address the job thing, and B, maybe offer up a few tips to consider for you guys. So I appreciate you guys watching as always. Until next time.